Watching the football, the soccer. Do you call it football or do you call it soccer?
I call it football because of my dad.
Okay.
Because my dad refers to it as football. He doesn't really refer to it as soccer. So.
Right. That would make sense. Is he an Englishman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be why.
Yeah. So, no, which is confusing in our house because my father's also a very diehard Seahawks fan. So, whenever he comes, he'll usually refer to, when he refers to like North American football, he'll just say Seahawks.
He doesn't have a name for the sport. He just Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks are playing. So
that's amazing.
So.
Coming in here watching you watch soccer, or football, sorry, it reminds me of Giant. Like it takes me back to that record. And I was thinking, I was listening to an interview while I was researching this from when the last record came out. You saying I don't do videos anymore; they're too expensive. It's not worth it anymore. But you seem to figure out a way to do it for this record.
Well, what happened is when I went over to do some shows in England, Dave, who's shot a bunch of stuff from like Madonna to Rihanna to whatever's like footage, concert footage and that sort of stuff, he kind of put something together and he had contacted me privately and just saying, why don't we just have some fun? And then my record company got a hold of it and they were like, how about we pay you to shoot the show? And so they shot the show and he shot me doing some stuff. Like I went out into the audience and sang Load Me Up completely acoustic, like in the middle of the floor, and he shot that, but he also filmed me walking from the hotel to the show. So, I guess and up until this time, I didn't really realize that the whole lyric video thing was like a really new popular thing that people did.
You're a big technology guy.
Yeah, I know. I just completely out of the loop on that. They were like, well, let's do a lyric video. And they came up with one, and it was pretty cool. But then Dave put that footage together, and they liked that better, so they put that out, which of course has nothing to do with the song or anything like that. But we, I don't know.
It works.
I enjoy doing videos. I enjoy doing videos if obviously the budget's there to do them properly.
Do you want to talk about that song? Because you're doing like a different, like I was listening back to that song, I don't know, 3 or 4 times today, and it almost has like a Dylan kind of cadence to it at times, just the way you're speaking the verses.
Yeah, if anything...
And I mean that as a compliment.
Oh yeah, thank you. If anything influenced that song, it's Been Tired by the Pixies.
Okay.
Right, 1, 2, 3, she's a real... Like that whole verse is brilliant, right? So... If I lifted it from anywhere, it was from...
All right. I didn't mean lifting, it just meant like it was... I'd never heard something like that from you before.
Well, yeah, definitely. I haven't done anything like that before. Maybe 21st Century Living on Avalanche is a little bit like that, but I kind of was pretty inspired by Charles,
I hear also Afghan Wigs very inspiring on the record.
Yeah,
that's kind of what kicked off
both
the
of
whole
those
thing.
bands have been kind of huge inspirations of mine for a long time, so... I mean, more so obviously the Pixies when I was, younger. I mean, Doolittle came out the year I graduated from high school, so, there were the EPs before that, but, the Wigs really didn't really arrive on the scene till about 1990, 1991, so.
So if the Wigs inspired Via Dolorosa, how did that song inspire the rest of the record? If that was the first one, how did you... Did it?
Yeah, well, I wrote Via Dolorosa, and quickly after that, or around the same time, I wrote Arrows of Desire as well. So they were both happening. I'd kind of bounced back and forth, and they were both happening at the same time. So I don't know. I just, for me, with regards to the Afghan Wig, like the kind of the inspiration for the Wigs, I don't really take direct influence, you know what I mean? Like I kind of do what I do, but certain things influence me. I mean, like the abandon that Greg Dooley has, like when he sings completely out of tune, but he does it and it's magnificent. And in the chorus of that song, it's just kind of got that abandon in it. I mean, I sing in tune, but I felt that it had that abandon in it when I demoed it, and kind of after coming off the road with Lights of Endangered Species, I fell back into just listening to a playlist that I had just of a lot of bands like that, and it's just what inspired me to pick up the guitar and write what I wrote. So
how long after you got off the road did you start writing for this? Like, do you always have a grace period? I mean, this is like 13 records in now. Do you have like a routine now where you need a couple weeks off and then get back into it, or you just
It really
going all the time?
it just happens usually. I mean, when I was younger, I write all the time, right? Like, in a hotel room, wherever, I was writing all the time. Now I write, I'm like, okay, I've got to write a record, so I write a record. And so it'll depend. Sometimes I'll come off the road, and it'll be between like being off the road and then say festival stuff in the summer, and then I'll start then or coming back after, like between Canada and the States. I'll maybe mess around a little bit, and or sometimes I'll leave until I'm completely done, and then I'll just jump back into it, and just how it comes out is how it comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking about the old days there for a second. I got a Twitter question from someone today, asking about that first. I don't even know if that first record of demos was a thing, or the history teacher is what some people have called it.
Yeah, that's not even. That's that thing. That was just a thing put together of a bunch of demos by a guy I used to do some recording with and that played piano for me for a little while, and he put that together. And I had nothing to do with it at all.
Well, except for writing the songs.
Well, yeah,
and singing the songs.
Yeah, but it's not something that I would have ever had, released or accessible to people.
Well, that was the question. Will you ever release it or re-record it? Was the question. I was like, I don't think he'll re-record the songs he wrote when he was like 16 years old.
No, I don't. They're highly naive, and that everyone has to start somewhere, and it's you learn your craft, and they're not very representative of what I mean. Hell, I hate my first actual album. So
do you never touch the songs live, even though people want to hear them?
Off last to the Ghetto Astronauts. The only thing I play live is if I'm playing acoustically, I'll play Missions of the Omen. That's a hidden track. It's the only song off that record I play.
Interesting. How do you come up with a set list now that there are so many songs people want to hear? And obviously you want to play the new stuff too.
With a band, it's very difficult because you have to kind of choose your poison before a tour, rehearsing it. What I do is, with new records, we know every song from a new record, so we can play, that.
You bring the same guys that play on the record on the road?
Well, on this record, they played on the record. On previous records, I played everything but the drums. Okay. And then I'd have other people come in and maybe do some guitar, like play a guitar solo that I'd written, but play it in a different kind of way. So it's not obviously.
Well, everyone's got their own feel.
Yeah. No, the band that I play with now, they played all their stuff on this album because I produced it as well, and I've self-produced myself several times in the past. But I was also playing everything at the same time. So I thought this time it'd be better if I would just do my bits and I could actually produce it. So,
well, how does that change? So we'll get back to what you were saying, but how does that change the whole process of that? Must be so different then.
Oh, it's a lot easier to produce.
Well, I'm sure it is,
right? Because you're sitting there, because you're sitting there kind of going, you've just done to take a bass, and you're just like, well, how about that? Yeah, and I'm notoriously. Especially when I self-produce and I'm working primarily by myself, I'm notoriously like very fast at what I do because I'm the only person. Like I'm like, okay, yep, we got that. Okay, yep, we got that. Okay, yep, we got that. That felt good. I like that. I like how that sounded. Let's go. And then when you produce other people, you have the greater picture in your head. So it's more, obviously discussing and translating ideas to them. With regards to I really like this, or maybe they'll put a little twist and a turnaround. You'd be like, yeah, let's explore that, or that kind of.
So, what song changed the most on this record from the demo you had? What did the band really bring to this record?
Well, a lot of Anthony's, a lot of Anthony's Moog stuff was, on songs like Garden Knives and that sort of thing. The middle bit in Letters in Wartime wasn't piano originally, it was still guitar. And then I, in the middle of that, decided I didn't want to go with guitar, and I asked Anthony to play the guitar line on a piano, which he did, and so that ultimately changed. Jim came up with a couple of really great guitar ideas, and Milos came up with some interesting bass stuff as well. Nothing that really left the kind of path, what I had laid down originally, but that expounded upon it. in certain ways too, right? So, and you have to remember that it all depends on matching stuff up. Like a player will always play, like when Milos is playing along with Pat when he's playing drums, I on the demos I'll have played the drums. So when I get a drummer in to do it, obviously I'll go through a song, produce him, and talk about where I want, what kind of fills I want where, and then a bass, someone like Milos will play to those fills and that sort of thing. So,
sure.
Yeah.
What's the fastest you've ever done a song by yourself, like start to finish?
Oh, well, I mean, I made Hospital Music in 3 weeks.
Really? Oh no, there's a lot of full band songs on that. I always think of that as a slower record for some reason.
Yeah, I know, but there's 15 songs or something like on that record. Yeah, that's probably the most. I mean,
why'd you feel so rushed to do it?
I didn't feel rushed.
That's just
how fast I did it.
That's a good answer. Okay.
I played everything on that record. They're actually, except for Rod's guitar solo in Champions of Nothing and Ryan Dahl's guitar part on Devils in Your Details, played everything else myself, including like all the keyboards and everything. But I was just, I don't know. We just came in and worked from 11 in the morning to midnight and got it done.
Right.
Yeah.
Social media. Just want to switch it up for a second,
Okay.
just because I had that Twitter question. And I liked your post today and yesterday. Like you spelled Miley Cyrus wrong, and then was like, whatever, I don't care. Good. But then you defended her today, and I was totally in that same boat of why are people talking about this? Why is this the big news story yesterday when there's so much other stuff going on in the world?
I know it's kind of pathetic, really. I mean, I don't see that she did anything different than anybody else.
Isn't that the point of the show, is to be risque and to be the person that everyone's talking about the next day? So you have to go crazy?
Yeah.
Or not go crazy, that's the wrong word, but go extreme?
I mean, we forget all these things, right? We forget that Elvis Presley was, called every name in the book by everyone for simply gyrating his freaking hips. We look back at that footage now, and it's the most harmless, bloody thing you can imagine, but it's this well-dressed kid with an acoustic guitar, singing completely unoffensive songs, and and it's, I don't know, it's interesting, and of course, probably 20 years from now, they'll look back at what we thought was offensive now, and think it ridiculous that we thought it offensive in the first place, but. I just find it interesting that her performance is what's critiqued. People don't look at the song or anything like that. It's just, what she did. And obviously that was for effect. I mean, like, you come out of the Disney kind of corporation of being a child star, and you've got to do something to sustain a career. And one way to do it as a young adult, obviously, is to play up on the whole sexuality thing, right? And hopefully capture a later teen, early 20 market out of it, because you're not going to be what are you going to be, 30 and still have the tween market following you? All those kids all the kids that grew up with her that were tweens are all listening to different music now, and they don't want to hear Hannah Montana. They'll be like, oh, I remember when I was 8, Hannah Montana. So. But then again, it's difficult also for me to comment on it because I have no frame of reference when it comes to things like that. I didn't grow up in a place that, or with that kind of, I don't even know the word for it. All I remember is when Zeppelin, the last time Zeppelin played Vancouver, all the older kids in the neighborhood came home with those blue shirts with the Zoso guy on it, right? And being so jealous that I was just a little too young to go, and that's how you learned about music back then, right? I mean, you were Back in Black came in the mail practically, like those little samples of Tide, I mean, that's how big that album was, and there was no them playing some music award show or what, and if they would have, there would have just been them playing, Back in Black or, You Shook Me All Night Long or whatever, right? So, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing, There's so many artists out there that do it that people are just caught in this whole thing. Like, she was this, highly controlled, brand. And then now that she's grown up and can't be that brand anymore, what is she supposed to do? Like turn to Christian gospel, and so everyone will be really happy about it? And I don't know. I really don't. I really don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean,
I like the answer. I'm happy with that. And you said in there 20 years from now, it got me thinking about that Future blog post you wrote where you talked about being in an old age retirement home at 65. I can't see you doing that because I don't think you can get. Would you be okay with never playing music again at 65 and just?
Well, it doesn't mean
or performing for the oldies in that room.
It doesn't mean that I we can go to the rec room and have a little bit of fun. But hey, man, 3 meals a day, China service, excursions.
Excursions.
Oh, I'm not the only one that's in on this. Well, my wife wants to do it too.
I know. Would you be happy not making records and not going on tour again? You see,
if I could live in a retirement home and just hang out like cocoon style, hell yeah, all son! Right. Come on. I mean, it's kind of like being on a cruise ship, but it never moves. Come on, isn't that the goal? Isn't that what we all live to do? Is just to retire.
Well, there's the George Burns way of just going out all the way.
No, you can do that too. I mean, obviously, yes, I'm an artist, and I'll be an artist till the day I die. But obviously, I meant that more humorously.
No, I know.
And I say that more in the context that I probably will just never have the financial freedom to actually ever be able to do that, because those places are pretty expensive.
Yeah. Anywho, 5 quick questions, 1 word answers. We've done this before, but it was years ago, so I wonder how that would go.
Okay.
Road or studio?
Oh, road.
Lennon or McCartney?
Pardon?
Lennon or McCartney?
Oh, Lennon.
When you hear a song, what usually hits you first? Lyrics, melody, or rhythm?
Lyrics.
We changed it up recently. If someone's never heard Matthew Good before, what song do they start with?
Non-populous.
In 1 word, Matthew Good.
I'm shaking my head right now.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.